the owners of Pink Owl Coffee came and spoke about their experience. So they a few tidbits there. They have used the conversions feature for 2 years now from Square, because they are like early alpha testers of conversions. This is the feature where a seller can say, hey, I want to save 4% of my sales in Bitcoin. Okay. And then it just gets tucked away in Bitcoin, and like you just dial a knob, turn it on, dial a knob, and then you're
set it and forget it. I love it.
Like set it and forget it. They've done that for 2 years, and they set it to the max of 10%, and they've done that for 2 years.
Nice.
And I mean, I think they're quite public with this, so I think it's fine to share it here. And I guess I'm not following Chatham House rules since I'm saying it's them, but I think they spoke at like the Vegas conference and stuff.
Don't have to announce how much
so
Bitcoin
I think,
but I think we heard their strap too, so don't worry.
No, I mean okay. I won't say how much Bitcoin
they're
saved.
not self-custodying it.
Let's put it this way. I did the napkin math of what their sales probably are and what 10% would result in Bitcoin and the price fluctuation, and what they've saved makes sense to me. So I think they've had it turned on the whole time, and they're definitely like Bitcoin maxis and into Bitcoin, but like amazing job by them. And then they're now accepting Bitcoin as well through Square. They're beta testers of that.
Oh yeah. Are they they're just like a local mom and pop coffee
shop? They have
or?
3 stores, and they just got approval the previous night for a 4th one.
That's what happens when you save Bitcoin.
College of Marin. Yeah, so
just keep opening.
Yeah, they have a very nice stash of Bitcoin that they've saved. So kudos to them. They they had tons of great feedback as well. I asked them, are you going to do promotions to your customers to spend in Bitcoin, so they're not just capturing like people like us going there to go do it. And they do have plans. They're creating some content on various social media sites that they're going to make available, and they're planning to do very steep discounts.
That's awesome.
As well, like
beyond
like 21%.
Now, okay, so so I have a ton of questions on that, and but I guess my central question is, so my understanding is that the first year of the rollout there is no processing fees, and then after that it goes to 1%. That's what I read in a press release. I mean, that's awesome for a low margin business, 2, 3, even 1% savings. That's great. And so they're incentivized to share some of that with the customer. 21% sounds like a losing proposition. What is their thought on that? Just to help?
Well, one quick thing, I wouldn't even like to the merchant, I wouldn't even frame it as like 1% savings, because like when you change your processing fees from 3 to 1%, your profit margin increases are dramatic, right? Yeah. Especially on a low margin.
That's true.
If your profit margin is 10%, and you're getting 2% back, well, that's a 20% improvement to your profit margin. Nice. So, but as far as the 21%, they rationalize it as like, well, they'll probably, if they're successful with this, maybe it goes from like near 0% sales to 3% or maybe 5% of sales are in Bitcoin. Then you multiply that by 21%. So their overall revenue hit is minimal, and they're all behind. Because I asked the question because I think it makes sense to do things like that to change human behavior,
right? Change
the consumer behavior, to actually put in the effort to download one of these wallets, which now have pretty good user experiences, but you still have to download and install the wallet. You have to move some of your Bitcoin or buy some Bitcoin to have some spending money. For just a normal human being, what's the motivation to do that?
It's a pain in the ass.
We do it because we're Bitcoiners. We already have 15 wallets on our phone, but like normal person, but if you get a 21% discount, now all of a sudden people are doing it.
It's compelling.
And once you get over that hurdle, well, then in the future, you don't need a 21% discount anymore. And also think about the second merchant that comes along. Like they don't have to offer the 21% discount.
Yeah, totally.
The person's already downloaded the wallet, has the spending wallet, and the friction's much less. So
everyone benefits from it. So,
he also related it to kind of their view on the gift card business, because I think he said that during the Christmas holiday they have a promotion where it's like spend $100, get $50 gift card, and it has such a it's in a sense it's way too generous, you would think. But he said that it all kind of makes sense because of all the additional people they get coming into the shop who might not otherwise come into the shop just for that promotion. And then they start to make habits out of that. And I mean, I can see I've never been, it's called Pink Owl Coffee, right? I've never been to Pink Owl Coffee. I'm definitely going to go there now.
Yeah, actually, so am I.
So I'm literally going to go there. I was never a customer. Now I'll go there. I'll seek it out. I'll go drive across town to go find it. And I think there's probably more Bitcoiners out there who are like, oh, cool,
This
some
is
place
neat.
I can go do it. Like
Yeah,
you and
that's a
I
good
did
point.
the
Oh, yeah.
thing over down in
Vegas.
In Vegas. We went across town. We also
tried.
went.
Yeah.
We went to that
I was affiliated
that
with them.
brunch place in Costa Rica.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was great.
And
that was our first exam. Yeah.
We paid in Lightning,
and it was like novel and
Bitcoin,
exciting. And yeah,
so I feel like that.
it's like a marketing expense.
But like we may, if there were another place across the street that took Bitcoin and they didn't, we would have gone to the place that took Bitcoin, right?
Totally. Okay, so that makes sense to me. The marketing expense, and I don't know if he spoke.
And the N+1.
And what do you mean by that?
Like meaning like
Just bring friends.
You'll bring a friend and you'll
Yeah.
tell your Bitcoiner friend, oh, there's this coffee shop. It's weird. They like 21% off.
Well, it's also sick. Like, once it's on I'm assuming will be on the local Bitcoin map or whatever, then people start like, oh,
Yeah.
this is the place I want to go to.
I'm becoming more bullish on this because I
Yeah,
do.
actually,
The pink owls of the world, they're the first mover merchants. They're all in Bitcoin. They're gonna do these crazy 21%, but they're gonna benefit because they're the first mover.
Yeah.
And so it'll attract all the Bitcoiners, but also it'll attract people who want to save 21%.
Yeah.
They'll benefit from that. Then you have now you've gone from almost no one to like a nice segment of people who have spending wallets on their phone.
Yep.
That's true.
So the next wave of merchants don't need to do 21% discounts, and they benefit because now all of a sudden there's like a sizable portion of your customer base that already has spending wallets, and
That's awesome.
Somebody mentioned you mentioned he should become the Bitcoin Chamber of Commerce hub.
Well,
I wanted
idea,
to mention that.
Yeah.
So I didn't mention it, but someone
Somebody
said we should create a Bitcoin
I didn't
merchant
mean to attribute it to you.
association. Yeah, I know. Man, we are breaking our own rules.
I know.
But yeah, someone mentioned like there should be like a Bitcoin merchant association.
Yeah,
I think that's how they framed it. We can talk about it on the show. I've given no thought to it. Like what does that even mean? Is it good or bad in a decentralized Bitcoin? I don't know, but it's interesting, right?
I think it's super good.
It's amazing.
Because I mean, think about it, like he's investing the 21% discount to get a bunch of people with these wallets. There's all kinds of other people in town who haven't invested that. He could galvanize a movement there. Now, this is not going to bleed out to like the whole world.
Not yet.
No, my point is if he runs the Bitcoin Merchant Association for Marin County or Santa Fe or whatever, that's not going to bleed out to the whole world. He's not going to become like the king of Bitcoin commerce. He's just going to but he could instigate a movement.
Other people will mimic him.
Other people will mimic him, and he can sort of instigate that, help them on board. I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's just kind of an offhanded comment, but I think he's sort of accidentally in pole position to be that kind of leader. And that kind of leader is going to be great for his business, great for the ecosystem, great for Bitcoin, et cetera.
I love it. Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I think that the more they open source everything as well, like all the guides and the learnings like we do with our stuff, then people want to do me. Yeah. Like, honestly, the way I see this, I think the biggest thing that makes me bullish on this, besides gift cards, which is worth talking about because I have more ideas on gift cards, but is it's going to be like the Mormon church. Like it really is. Like you're going to have like, you have the people that are into Bitcoin. If you haven't met someone in real life who's into Bitcoin, like
I think everyone's has their Thanksgiving dinner table, guest.
By the end of the
family
member, you're like, dude, will you please shut the fuck up about Bitcoin? Like, we get it. It's your religion. Congratulations. But like these guys, like, there's so many people that are not technical, but they are bought into the cult. And this is now you're taking this free, like literally religious marketing team that's going to go out there, probably in, button down shirts and their ties and their little book of Satoshi. And they're going to go out there and just orange pill the world.
Agreed. And actually, we ask ourselves a lot in the show and even off the show, like why stable coins versus Bitcoin, why Bitcoin, etc. And it's very good to think through use cases, think through advantages, pros and cons. It's good to do that analysis, but the passion of Bitcoin, find where are the Mormons of stable coins? Right?
Exactly.
There aren't any. It's just big, like Stripe and Coinbase. Big.
I'm a tempo maximus. I don't know about you. Have you heard the good word of?
I mean, it's just large companies trying to cement themselves as the next Visa,
right?
And that's a completely different energy and vibe.
That's true.
Than the masses of people who are into to Bitcoin and will push for that.
That's true.
Like that alone could be
so good.
I'm long Colts.
Yeah.
So a few other thoughts on the Bitcoin Merchant Association. We talked a little bit last episode about the stickers that Square's coming out with. Another thing that I think is really important that like Square does or Spiral or the broader Bitcoin space or all of the above is leave behinds. Because we also talked about in this show going to all the merchants in the Presidio. Like we want to spend in Bitcoin right here where we work every day and where we visit local merchants.
Yeah.
Well, some of them use Square, some of them don't, but like we want to go talk to them. And usually when you go chat, like the person behind the counter, they're busy. They aren't the decision maker. They're not the owner or the manager or whatever. And so you can strike up a quick conversation, but then that's usually the end of the story. It'd be nice to have a leave behind, like a one pager or some kind of card, half page card or something like that you can leave with them that they can read later, or they can give to the manager or owner, and it gives them the pitch on why Bitcoin, right? And it should obviously heavily emphasize the getting rid of the 3% fee.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure Square is going to do this. It'll be Square oriented, which is great, but there should be another version which is just more general for Bitcoin, and is more neutral. Can certainly still highlight Square since that's a major option, but if there's other solutions to highlight those, but we can then we're going to test this out here, but it can be part of the Marin Bitcoin Merchant Association as part of that open source package that gets published that then any other location in the world can adopt. And it just like, so I do think like the Pink Owl folks should create a website and promote this for Marin or whatever jurisdiction whatever geographic area they want to start with. And then go from there.
I love it.
Yeah.
So one idea that comes to mind immediately, it'd be super cool to do. And maybe the Pink Owl guys could be the first one, is like, as companies announce they're turning on Bitcoin, will they have a lightning address?
What do you mean? Like with
Square, if you turn on?
Well, I hope they'll have a human readable name.
Okay. So what I was going to suggest is what would be super cool if it's backwards compatible with either a lightning address or an npub, which I know there was some testing of that at one point. What we should do is we should do like money bombs or cash bombs. Because like there's like in Nostr, the concept of the zapathon, right? Where they used to get together and people would just go crazy and just zap a whole bunch of whatever Bitcoin around. Imagine you could just, and I mean, this won't scale forever, although maybe it will, I don't know. Like as you have new restaurant, like I'm almost thinking like an advent calendar. Like every new restaurant a day, it's like, hey, for example, the woman that we really want to sign up and she's going, I don't know about all this.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, here's your address.
Yeah.
Just watch.
Oh, this is a great idea.
Just watch.
Yeah.
And then we go and we do this on the show and we do this on Nostr and we'd be like, all right, guys, let's convert this woman to join us. And then people come in and just go crazy and just drop sats on her like wild. And she looks at it and goes, what the fuck happened?
Well, you're talking about having her on Nostr, because I thought you were driving foot traffic to the business.
We could do foot traffic to the business. I was just saying, foot traffic to the business. That's a great idea.
I think that
should be part
kind
of
that's the thing that will speak to the merchant. They'll be like, wow, I didn't even know about this. And this cult showed up and bought a bunch of stuff from me. So I'm joining the cult.
So we should definitely do that too. But I think there's two. What I'm saying is like, imagine you could just like take advantage of all the people that are zapping on Nostr and they all zap her at one moment. And she like looks at her wallet and there's $10,000. I agree. The foot track is even better, but like,
so I think these ideas are very close though. Like take this advent calendar idea. It's like the 30 days before Christmas or whatever, right?
And we should do that this December.
So you have like the 30 days of Bitcoin, and each day there's like a new restaurant in a similar geo, right? It's maybe, Centerfell or whatever, and they're going to be Bitcoin enabled. And so the leader of the Bitcoin Merchant Association says, here's the calendar, and they publish it. And then each day you open it up and you're like, oh, good. They're having, tacos 21% off. And everybody shows up, foot traffic, tons of Bitcoin is spent at that merchant. The merchant's like, whoa,
what is going on?
Okay, these people are for real. There's a real thing. And now you've got this local area where all these people have Bitcoin on their phones, right, that they can use to transact, like a spending wallet. And you've got a whole ecosystem, kind of like the circular economy that we, see a little bit in like, in Costa Rica, or like I think exists in like, the beach. There's the beach town. Bitcoin Beach. like do Bitcoin.
Zcash Beach.
Solana Beach. Which I actually learned that's why it's called
That's
Solana,
why it is. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But you could have,
down by San Diego, right?
We should actually, we should do this in Solana Beach. That would be so much fun.
We take over territory.
Yeah, exactly. Just like move them out of that turf. I think it's an amazing idea. We should totally make this happen. I still think we should also offer a way for like the international people, because I do think there's so many people that like just like they want to zap around. Like I'll come out and say, now if we did 30 days of Bitcoin, I'll zap anywhere in the world.
So okay, so here's how you merge it though, is each business, like, say Pink Owl Coffee gets an automatic Nostr account
Exactly.
for, signing up on this advent calendar. And then people all around the world can then zap and effectively like subsidize the 21%. So you sort of can go to the,
that's a great way of framing.
You can go to the merchant and be like, hey, 21% off, but you're going to have people all over the world sending you Bitcoin to help subsidize the 21%.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
That's amazing. And then hopefully merchants sort of opt into like publishing the data or like what kind of response did they get?
Yeah.
And then because the merchant association should encourage that, so then it can be published. And then everyone who contributed to that globally would be like, I played a role in that. And you feel good about yourself.
I love it.
It's like Hands Across America. You remember that?
No.
This is like
this
from the 80s. Sorry. You should know though.
Sorry, Whoopi.
No?
We don't know.
There used to be some program, it was a fundraiser or something, but you do like Hands Across America.
Like a March of Dimes or something.
You'd literally stand there hand in hand with the next person over, and you'd kind of try to make like a stretch of people. I think they were kind of like per city, but it was kind of like all in the same day. And you just like make a chain of people who are like part of this world record thing or something. I don't know.
That sounds like a very 80s thing.
I remember We Are the World.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was 6 months before or after that. Yeah. The right era, yes. The Simpsons were created right around that same time.
Perhaps you could give us a rendition of We Are the World for this?
Maybe next time. Give me an audio track.
And then he'll
rap it.
He'll rap it.
Freestyle, let's go.
That's right. I might have to use the restroom when you guys do that.
Being Solana Beach.
Anyway, okay. So let's follow up on the merchant association idea. That's amazing.
Yeah. And let's make sure. Do we know? I forget the gentleman's name, and we shouldn't say it anyway. I guess I guess it's allowed to be said. But do we know if he's aware of this show? Because we should share him a clip or something.
Send him this episode.
Yeah, we'll send it to him.
Yeah.
Other things that we're still just in the first, but it was really good. It was really good energy. Yeah. I was excited. Yeah. Like it boosted my already pretty high level of enthusiasm for like Square Bitcoin acceptance to the next level. I love it. So there are a bunch of ideas from.
Actually, I want to pause on the Square thing. I've got a question that I kind of wanted to ask Jackson, but I already asked him enough stuff. But I've been. By
the way, it wasn't Jack's son. It was Jack's son.
I see. Right. Okay.
Sorry, just wanted to clarify.
I've been, since we discussed on the show, every time somebody asks for cash or some sort of payment that I'm having like a one-to-one with a decision maker, I ask them if they'll take Bitcoin. And I've had a few scenarios. I think I've shared some of them with you, but I had one that I ran into this week. It's kind of a bigger ticket service provider. And he wanted Venmo or Zelle, and I tried and they failed. And then it didn't really explain why. And I asked Bitcoin and didn't know much about it or didn't know how to do it. So I do think like in one of the cases, we should have a leave behind for that type of person that we can sort of a one page that we can pull out and be like, here's how this thing works. Because one of the people asked me for more information. They wanted to do it. And I'll have my son help me out. Yeah. So I think there's a leave behind option there, but I think there's also like the fact that Square is willing to subsidize the payment fees,
just crazy.
I think almost could be a whole new. It could reach a whole new type of merchant who doesn't currently consider themselves a merchant. They don't want to use the POS, whatever. I don't know if you know the person I'm talking about, but like she's not going to use the POS. But maybe if you said, "Hey, look, free, no fees, and sign up on this thing," and she could kind of become like. So I guess my question is, would Square have like a Bitcoin only merchant style?
Maybe
because it feels like we're free subsidizing the fees.
So have you ever heard of Register World?
No.
Do you know that Square is global?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like, my immediate thought was you could do this globally.
So I'd worked at the company for like 4 years and never heard of Register World. And Register World is a version of Square that anyone in the world can use. And it's been around for like 8 or 10 years or something.
Is it a separate company or like?
No.
It's just all the Square suite.
It's a product called Register World.
So it's like invoicing and stuff, or
yeah. So you can accept cash and
you can do cash, okay.
And then like it handles
oh shit, I get this now.
Right,
it's gonna be big.
So that already exists, and actually like I think it's popular in like Mexico City and like it's not like some resounding success, but it has like pockets of it does have usage. But you can imagine to like, let's turn up the volume on that, amplify it, use that as a vehicle for Square internationally and add Bitcoin, because Bitcoin shares a lot of characteristics with cash. And it also can be like, you don't need to go get licensed in all these different countries, right?
That's
Mac seems excited about
that's huge. Because now Square can, I think, because Jack always said over and over and over, it's like, this is what we use to go international. I kind of got it, but with this, you could literally just plug that in today.
Yeah.
And have the cult members in every city around the world. And now Square is a global company. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think that would be an exciting direction. So,
and we could even then, we could nationalize, as we have our, the Mormon, whatever movement in the US, you can have localized, translate to Spanish for Mexico. Oh, this is good.
Technology wise, it gets into the question of like, how do you deliver it, right? Because if it's custodial, well, then you need some kind of like
non-custodial,
some kind of licensed somewhere and some offshore, this or that or whatever.
But if it's non-custodial,
and then if it's non-custodial, so is it Lightning or Arc or Spark or this or
And imagine for a minute, once you have the non-custodial version, then you can do that in the US too. And so then that opens up a whole nother market. So like there's like the guys selling you burritos. Anyone that deals with cash in the US, now all of a sudden you get them.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. So I think it's an exciting direction. Another potential exciting direction and a request from Pink Owl and other people in the audience last night was Bitcoin backed loans, where, which just seems like a natural feature for Square to offer, because first of all, Square already offers loans to merchants, but non-Bitcoin. But now if merchants are now saving in Bitcoin and have Bitcoin, why not be able to tap into that Bitcoin to get fiat loans to build their, grow their business, pay expenses or whatever.
That's awesome.
So that seems like a very natural extension. And obviously there's already 2 Bitcoin-backed loan companies working out of Presidio Bitcoin, one of which we'll talk about in a few minutes because it was another presentation last night. And there's several others. So I think that's like a no-brainer to happen in the future for merchants. Some other feedback was like, we mentioned Pink Owl might give a big discount, but an idea for Square to improve would be to make that just dead simple in the UI for the merchants, to just be like, I want to give the customer a discount, and then like a dial, like 1%, 3%, 21%, whatever, and then have that marketed in the UI. Maybe some of the marketing collateral that Square might provide merchants could also, emphasize that, highlight that, but basically try to drive more traffic than just the people who already know they want to spend in Bitcoin, but everyone else who you're visiting. So make that just dead simple for merchants.
Has Bob did he talk about what he's doing there at all?
He,
not publicly.
Yeah, I don't know what Bob was there, and Bob talked to Pink Owl, and Bob's excited. Let's just leave it.
I won't dox Bob, but like there are some really good ideas about things you can do with gift cards that interoperate with the Bitcoin network that I think could be a game changer. So,
so that's exciting. And then what are some of the other ideas? Let's see, loans. Pink Owl also suggested that Square, and I'm saying Square, but really anyone providing merchant solutions in Bitcoin, it's an idea for them too. Would be tutorials and educational material for the employees at a merchant. Like Pink Owl, like the owners are bought in. They get it. They know how to use it. They understand. They have the talking points down. But when they hire people at their coffee shops, they aren't necessarily hardcore Bitcoiners who know what the talking points are, or know how it works. And so providing tutorials to employees at a merchant, that seems to make a lot of sense.
And I think he mentioned too the payroll. I think Square has a payroll product that they use to pay their, I think he said 40 employees.
Yeah.
So right now that doesn't tightly integrate with Bitcoin, but it could be made to.
Yeah, well, because I think I asked the question: does Pink Owl, since they're so hardcore into Bitcoin, do they ask their suppliers to accept Bitcoin to try to create this virtuous cycle? And they said yes, they do ask that. They also try to get paid in Bitcoin when, like, if they do an event, they ask the event, will you pay us in Bitcoin?
Wow.
And they also try to pay they offer the option to their employees to pay them in Bitcoin, which gets to DK's point. Cash App does have the feature paid in Bitcoin, where if you're a Cash App customer, you can just, change a simple UI, change a dial so that if you do direct deposit to your Cash App account in dollars, then you can say, I want 5% or 10% or whatever converted to Bitcoin. And I believe it's like no fees.
Really?
Yeah.
No fees. Wow.
don't quote me on that, but I believe that is true.
That's a big deal.
And then, but I think, yeah, what I took away from last night is that Square also has direct deposit, and they don't yet have like the paid in Bitcoin feature. But you know, so if the employee accepted it at Cash App, their direct deposit, then they could do it. So, but it'd be nice if it was integrated directly into Square.
Two thoughts that come to mind immediately. I'm sure this is in the plans, but there should be obviously some kind of like referral system, like in Cash App, you refer a friend, you get a referral. If you sign up, you're, you know, someone out there hustling and you sign up someone as a merchant, hopefully there's like some referral fee for you. But what would also be cool is if there's a way for the individual to split that referral fee with the person at the cash register. So imagine for a minute, you're like, hey, you know, there's all this Bitcoin stuff. It's interesting for you and you can get paid in one day. By the way, if you help me sign your guy up, you know, I get $10, you get 10 or something like that.
I think someone also asked whether what the access controls are to the Square seller management console to enable Bitcoin. Because if any person behind the counter can do it, then you could be like, hey, I'll give you some Bitcoin if you just tap that button. But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, so really good presentation. The next presentation was from the head of design from Fold, and I thought he also presented at Design Week last month. Joshua Philippe. I thought his presentation last night was like really good. He basically went through. He joined earlier this year Fold, and he just evaluated their design system and found tons of areas to improve. So he walked through the problems he discovered, and he did a good job showing how they were pretty problematic, and really slowed down their development process too because of all these problems. I thought he communicated that well, and then he walked through like their new design system and which they're still, I think, building out, but you know, talked about their token as well, but not. So you had to attend, Max. No, a design token, not the kind of tokens you're thinking about. But yeah, I thought that was. I mean, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah,
thoughts on that.
That's great coverage. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the last presentation was from a member here at Presidio Bitcoin, Andy, who is our inaugural EIR, entrepreneur in residence here. You know, he came from Buenos Aires to work from here for like half a year. And so he just presented on his business, which is, guess what, a Bitcoin-backed loan startup. So he you know, beyond just talking about the product, I mean, he spoke to like the you know, gave sort of the Argentina flavor of it and like some context in Argentina. So that was good too.